Well, kia ora everyone. Thank you to those of us who were able to stay on and finish off the rest of the Prosperous agenda. Just acknowledging that there are a number of us that couldn't, but we do have a quorum with our 8 members here present. So we will kick off where we finished up, which was at agenda item number 5, which is around submission process. And I'll invite Steph Murphy and Gemma, thanks Gemma, to come and present the paper. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. As you appreciate, we've been trying to put some more rigour and process around some of the processes that we bring to Prosperous Napier, including a draft work program out for the sort of next 12 months. As part of that process, we've been working on looking at the submissions that we actually bring to Council. So Gemma has put together a paper just to update you on what we will be doing in the future. So I'll hand over to her to take you through that and answer any questions.
Kia ora koutou. So I'll take the report largely as read, but the main purpose of this process is to ensure that all the opportunities and initiatives that are open for submission on government policy and upcoming legislation are captured by Council so that we have the opportunity to make our voice heard in those arenas and just to spread the net a little wider than we're currently capturing. So any questions?
Thank you. We'll open for questions. Councillor Greig.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. Just a question about this new improved council process. Is it going to impact on staff workload?
Not especially. It's a process that we're already running through governance. We're just hoping to expand it a little bit to make sure that we're capturing a greater number of the initiatives that are out there. Okay. At the moment, we receive initiatives and we'd like to be more proactive and go out and see what else is out there.
Thank you. Just a quick one from me. Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. You go.
Just a quick one from me. Just off the back of our preceding meeting, our ngā manukana ko te iwi, I was wondering in the flow diagram that we've got here, which thank you, I think that makes life much easier to understand the new process. Where would we see input from them sitting in that process?
We could include members of the committee in towards the bottom right, where at governance to forward submission to elected members for feedback. The committee representatives could be included in that.
I think that would be fantastic. Thank you. And if we could just make that really clear in there and include that would be great. Thanks. Councillor Crystal.
Just looking at the groups you're looking to kind of add, like Ministry of Health. What about police?
They are on the list. This was a list that was written a couple of weeks ago when the paper went to pre-agenda. It's expanded and it's expanding.
Oh, okay.
And it will just continue to grow as we identify more organisations that are opening these consultations.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm assuming then you would welcome elected members from flicking you an email perhaps so that you can keep that living document growing.
Yes.
Yeah, cool, fantastic. Councillor Bogue.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. I just have a question about, are we also including submissions that we make to other local authorities? Like we do make submissions to the Hawke's Bay Regional Council from time to time, so could that be on that list also, please? Yes. Thank
you. Welcome, Councillor Taylor. We're well over the quorum now. Any further questions on this one? I think it's a nice tidy up. It's lovely to get things clear and streamlined like that. If there are no further questions, I'll look for someone to move our recommendation, which is that we endorse the centralised process for monitoring and reporting submissions made by Napier City Council on initiatives that are open for consultation.
Happy to move.
Thank you, Mayor Wise, and seconded by Councillor Greig. Would you like to speak to that?
Oh, no, thank you. Through the chair, I would just like to say thank you to
to Gemma. I know you did the bulk of the work on this, and thank you also, Steph. But this is something that I have been really keen to see for quite some time now. I think it really is important that we are maximising our opportunities to provide input into these submission processes, and I think it's really important that governors have got good oversight of that. So really, really pleased with the process and looking forward to it kicking off. Thank you. And Councillor Gregg.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this just makes the process consistent and visible, so it's great. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to it? No? All right, well, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, we have a digital business strategy update. Now, I'm wondering, is Duncan available online at the moment?
No, I've got a message. He's in a health and safety meeting, so I'll take the report.
Very important. So in Duncan's absence, we will have Caroline Thompson
Thank you.
present it.
Through the chair. So this paper is an information paper to update you on the progress of our digital business strategy. It's outlining what we've already started and what we've got planned for years 1, 2 and 3 of the long term of the 3-year plan. So I'll take the report as read. Happy to take any questions, and if there's any that are a bit too technical for me, I will have to come back to you on those.
Great. So we'll open for questions. Mayor Wise.
Thank you, through the chair. And hey, look, this is really exciting. I'm so thrilled to see that we've got this roadmap in terms of improving our digital world within council. And I know we've got so many conflicting priorities in this space. So I guess I was keen to have a little bit more of an understanding of how they were prioritised.
So through the chair, we've taken this to ELT. So ELT's been through the plan. I've discussed at length too the same question that you've raised. We're also bringing back to ELT some of the other initiatives we've got going at the moment with other uplift programs that you might be aware of. The risk uplift program we've got going, the procurement initiatives that are underway, several other things. So we want to overlay them so that ELT can get a full overarching picture of the whole workload on all of these improvement programs.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on and sort of, conscious of the pressure that places on staff. So pleased that we're going to go through that process of those other work streams. And yeah, thank you.
Any further questions from anyone? No. Wonderful. Rightio. So we'll go to our officer's recommendation. As Caroline said, this is a information paper, so this is to note the actions and progress as outlined in the report Digital Business Strategy Update. Can I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Taylor, and Councillor Crystal to second. Would you like to speak to it?
Well, actually, I would.
Good.
Just to make the comment that in one of the areas we're talking about IT resilience and migrating from an analogue radio system to a new digital network. And for those of you who have the opportunity to watch television, you would see that nationally now ambulance, fire and the police are all moving to this system so that they can't be listened to, but they have a greater ability to communicate. Now, Napier City will be in the same system, so in the event of any major emergency, we will be able to connect directly with those emergency services through that digital network. So we're moving in the right direction and we're actually one step ahead. So I think it's a great move. So happy to move the recommendation.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Taylor. That's a really good point. Councillor Crystal, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, I think it's just great for us to be moving into the 21st century of computer and IT, and it was really pleasing to see the resilience being added in there, as we all know and have experienced how important that is during times of a major event here. So,
Thank you.
happy to.
Any further speakers to the motion? No? Well, I will put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Caroline. Paper number 7, agenda item 7, we have the emission reduction targets and plan. I'd like to welcome Michelle Duncan to present the paper to us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. The paper I'm presenting to you today is the emission reduction target recommendations and also sharing the draft emission reduction plan. This follows on from the paper that I put to you back in the June Prosperous Napier meeting, where we discussed the work we've been doing around measuring and reporting council's greenhouse gas emissions. In 2021, Council made a commitment through the climate position statement that was adopted then to set an emission reduction target in the next long-term plan. The targets that I'm recommending are net zero by 2050, which is a long-term target. And it's also very important to have an interim target to show that how you're tracking towards achieving the long-term target. The recommendation is 63% reduction by 2035. The targets have been set in alignment with Science-Based Targets Initiative guidance, also the ISO standard net zero guidelines, and also meet the requirements for funding under the LGFA climate loans criteria. Along with the targets, there's also the draft emission reduction plan, which brings together 30 actions that we can get started on now, bringing together a number of projects that are already underway within council for a number of other good reasons, but will deliver emission reductions as well. Also setting out a number of leadership actions that we should take, which will help embed this program of work through council's operations, and also setting out some opportunities for scoping and planning other projects that will deliver emission reductions in the longer term. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And we will open and we'll start with Councillor Greig. Thank you.
Oh, yes, through the chair. So on page 81 of the draft emissions reduction plan, point 30, I'm looking at that, it's under transport, low carbon transport. Could I propose an amendment that we add into that box promotion of walking, cycling and active transport?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Bogue.
Yes, I've got a couple of comments and questions. I must say this is excellent. It's really timely, and I'm so glad that we now have set our goals and our targets, and this will give us a way forward. Just a couple of comments that I particularly noticed was that Napier City is responsible for 10% of the total Hawke's Bay region emissions, and Napier City Council 8% of the city's emissions. Also that the new civic precinct is actually going to increase our emissions, being such a big build. And I guess we're going to have to prioritise quite a lot of our emission reducing activities and budgeting, because that's going to be quite a big issue. I have a question about a regional emission reduction plan. I see in the paper that Hutt City has as part of one of these. Do we have that here in our region, a regional reduction?
We do not.
Is there any likelihood of that being possible, or?
I don't think in the short term. I know the Joint Climate Action Committee was originally looking at some emission reduction activities from a regional perspective, but I believe the work program for that committee is now mostly focused on adaptation, climate adaptation. So, yeah, not that I'm aware of that there's going to be a regional emission reduction plan.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't believe any of the other councils have got one either. No.
Oh, well done.
In fact, they haven't even produced a greenhouse gas inventory yet, as far as I know. Oh, the regional council has, but not Hastings or, yeah.
Thank you. No, good. Yeah, great question. Thanks, Councillor Bogue. Do we have anything further from table? Deputy Mayor Brosnan.
Just happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you very much. And seconded by Councillor Bogue. So we're receiving and approving. Would you like to speak to it, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just very briefly, through you, Madam Chair, I concur with the comments that Councillor Bogue made earlier around how excellent I think this piece of work is, and would congratulate you and your team on it. I think it's for too long that we have not put this at the top of our priority list, and so it's really pleasing to see that we are leaders in this space. When I read through the sort of the schedule of the reduction plan, you could see a lot of opportunities, I think, for us, and I also think that we have set realistic targets against those with those benchmarking goals. I would be remiss if I didn't point out in the discussion the comment about Te Aka, noting that it is a Green Star 5 design build and certification, which is net zero operational carbon for fossil use into the future. So whilst the construction process has a blip, over time we are actually getting reducing our operational net carbon. So, and which is something that I think we should use as a model for all of our future capital investment, that we look to reduce that carbon over time. So really pleasing to see that picked up on. The level of detail was incredibly impressive, and yeah, very supportive of the officer's recommendation and the amendment made by Councillor Gregg. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And Councillor Bowe.
I can't add to that. I agree wholeheartedly with everything the Deputy Mayor said. Thank you for that.
And just a word from me. I remember in my first LTP last term, one of the key feedback key messages we got from the community was, where was your climate change? Where was your response to what was happening to us environmentally? And so actually to see this come through it's a bit of a full circle moment actually. So again, congratulations to Michelle and to those that have worked on this. It's fantastic to have.
Thank you. I think we are already doing a lot of these things. A number of these projects are already underway, so it's just really kind of bringing it back into that framework and recognising these things are already happening and they're going to deliver emission reduction benefits as well as, the other objectives that Council's trying to achieve.
Thank you.
By way of right of reply, because I think that's all
Absolutely.
I have left open to me,
Yep.
the only thing that I would possibly give a little bit of caution around is, I know there was a lot of talk around move to electric vehicles, and I think that is not quite the silver bullet that people would like to think when it comes to fleet. So I wholeheartedly support, but I do think we still need to be smart about some of those investments we make, and just simple suggestions like hybrid rather than fully electric I think is very wise, and I'm sure there is a process around each of those decisions as they come up, but making that note. Thank you.
Yeah, to reduce emissions, really it comes down to reducing the fuel that's being used, so it's kind of doesn't really matter whether that's via hybrid or via electric. It's reducing the fuel use.
Yeah, but it has a big difference around affordability. Yeah.
Thank you. So with the speakers completed, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you.
We'll welcome Gary up to the table for the first of 3 papers that he's here to present to us today. We will kick off with our Treasury activity and funding update. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Gary.
I honestly don't know how you manage to put in these long days like this. It's tough. All right. So the purpose of this report is to update Prosperous Napier Committee on Council's Treasury activity. So since the report was written, the Reserve Bank has cut interest rates by 25 basis points. So the OCR is now down to 5.25%. This will have an impact on lower term deposit rates and lower borrowing rates. Further borrowing is expected in the next few months, but it's well within the forecast 67 million. I'll take the remainder of the report as read.
Thank you, Gary. Open for questions. You're getting off lightly in your first paper, it would appear. Right, can I have someone to move the recommendation that we receive this update to our Treasury activity and funding? I'm happy to move it from the chair and seconded by Councillor Taylor. Thank you so much. I don't think it requires any more comment. I think the report covers everything, and thank you for reminding us of the update and the movement, thanks to the Reserve Bank. Councillor Taylor, thank you. Anyone else? I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to the rates remission in response to significant extraordinary circumstances relating to the voluntary buyout program. Gary again.
Sorry, I should have come up with a shorter one for that. It's quite descriptive. So the purpose of this report is to seek an extension for rates remission in response to significant extraordinary circumstances for properties involved in a Category 3 buyout. The remission was requested last year so that Napier was consistent with Hastings District Council, who are managing negotiations on behalf of Napier City Council. And given that the properties that are impacted do border a lot of those Hastings ones, then having that consistency does make a lot of sense. The remission would apply for the earlier of 12 months or the conclusion of negotiations with the property owner. The remission will cost up to $13,133 for the 24-25 financial year and will be sourced from unbudgeted funding. And with this one, I'll take the remainder of the report as read as well.
Thank you, Gary. Open for questions. It's your lucky day. And I'm sorry, I've referred to the fact that there are two papers around this item. We seem to have a little bit of a print, I think, in our papers. It is just the one paper. This is the one extension regarding.
That's correct. Yep. There's just the one, but as an attachment to this, the last year's report was in there as well for some perspectives.
Thank you. That makes much more sense.
Yeah.
I looked at the difference in the numbers. So
Yeah. One says 24, the other one says 23, but it's in really tiny font.
Thank you. Thank you. My apologies. Again, looking for any questions anyone might have. Questions? Comment? Questions, discussion, comments. All welcome. Councillor Greig.
Yeah, through the chair, just as a council, we need to be careful to avoid double standards and inconsistency. So I have a hard time sort of thinking that we should continue giving them a remission. That's my opinion anyway.
Sorry, was that a question?
It was a comment. It was a comment.
Oh,
No need to
looking at
respond.
me. Sorry.
And just to confirm, Gary, that these are for property owners who are still in the midst of the process of buyout, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're not living in the properties. They're never going to be able to live in the
Oh, sorry, I apologise. I'm talking about the next paper. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm talking about the next paper. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. As we said before, it has been a long day. It's been a long day. But I will throw over to Councillor Taylor, who is, being very appropriate at the end of the table there. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was just going to try and assist Councillor Greig in that there are 11 properties that this relates to. They are uninhabitable and we should not be charging them rates on their property. So I fully endorse this paper.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I'll take you as the mover of the
I will move it,
recommendation.
yes.
Thank you very much. And if I thank you, Councillor Crystal. Would you like to speak to it any
No
further?
further comment.
Councillor Crystal.
I just think it's a sensible thing to do, and that's it.
Thank you very much. No one else would like to speak to it, I'm assuming? I'll put it. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Great. So we have a couple of papers on our PX agenda. We have a recommendation to exclude the public on them. One, rates remission for special circumstances, and a procurement planning report update. Can I have someone to move us into PX, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brosnan. Seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
And that is carried.